I never should have shown mercy. We let our guard down and almost lost our lives. I have to do whatever I can to become stronger, even if it means scaring my friend into freezing helpless creatures. How can we expect to survive and even save the world if we're weak and merciful? Surely my friends can understand that we'll have to make some sacrifices to become stronger, and if not, well, then they're just in my way. After waking up, I steal $5 from my brother's drawer. There's $5 in your brother's drawer, take it. Mine! You reluctantly borrowed $5. Oh, it wasn't reluctant. There was nothing reluctant about that. The money is mine. Then I let mom drive me to school. Apparently it's reading time, so of course that annoying smug bird climbs up on his desk and parades his reading voice. I decide to sleep through the boredom, then Susie wants to check the dark world again. Sure enough, Goody Two-Shoes Ralsei is here and tells me to fetch everything from the old classroom. Once I do so and come back, the objects all materialize into the darkness from before, including Susie's friend Lancer. Even though I beat up lots of these guys yesterday, their new leader Lancer forced them to forgive us. But if I want even more recruits, I'll have to start sparing Darkners. I ain't sparing anything.
All shall die.
We failed at our funding goal. What happens when you don't get any D's in your hole? Does that make you depressed? I will not talk about our hole. I see, you're pretty depressed about your hole because you didn't get any D's inside. It's all good, I understand. You're feeling lonely. Maybe one day you'll find the right person for you. But it is not my responsibility to fill your hole with a D, okay? Looks like the clothes are nibbled. Take a bite? Yes. You put your mouth against the mannequin's cheek. Chris? Don't bother, it tastes awful. And Susie? You numbed it too! Yes, fellow numbers. I head to the exit, though Susie opens her mouth and says we have a project to do. Susie, Chris, you ought to do it right away. School's important. I banish you from this kingdom until you start your project. Banish? How dare you banish me? How do you think you're gonna enforce that? How do you think I'm afraid of the fluffy boy? What are you gonna do? You're gonna try to put me to sleep? How are you even gonna make me tired? I'm gonna tire you out by the time I'm done with you. Suddenly, Lancer rules Card and even the original Starwalker all join inside me. Finally, I can leave, so Susie and I head back to the light world, then leave to the library for our project. But when we check the computer lab, somehow there's another dark world, so of course we jump inside. Everyone was what? Having donuts? Everyone else has been what? Save us. She's going to, I'm not gonna save you. I'm gonna hold you at sword point until you tell me what's going on. Though surprisingly, our classmate Noelle is here too and gets captured by the robot queen. You wanna fight, loser? Oh, yes, Artie, yes. Oh, then bye. Then she turns citizens into werewires who attack us. Hungry for battle, we immediately slash at the first one, chasing it away and losing the recruit. Then when Susie and I defeat the second one, our max health increases by 2 as we get stronger. But suddenly 2 more werewires drop down, though before I can slay those 2, suddenly they're spared as Ralsei shows up. I have no idea how he got here, but I make sure he starts fighting like us as I battle task cats and combine our attacks to chase them off. It's a shame that they get away, but at least we all still get stronger. Eventually I reach a flying DJ who baits me onto a platform and attacks me with light pellets. But once I dodge them all and corner him, his friends show up and think we're the bad guys, so they attack. But no matter which one of them I focus on attacking, they immediately drink milk to fully heal themselves. So I give up and dance with them instead, each of us choosing a different dance partner to end the fight peacefully. While I'm upset that I couldn't slay them and instead they're now our friends, at least their shop sells me a stronger sword. Moving on, we jump into teacups, then I collect all the arrows while the platforms rise. Collecting all the arrows and reaching the top earns Ralsei the Ragger 2 weapon for less healing but more damage, so of course I make him use it. Eventually we enter a dark building and somehow end up on roller coasters. But then Queen shows up and surprises us with her new champion Birdly, who actually attacks us. Happy to put this smug chicken nugget in his place, I have us all mercilessly attack him again and again until his coaster smokes and explodes, launching him off the edge. But before I can savor our victory, our own coasters fly off the edge too, crashing us into a garbage dump. Luckily, the trash broke our fall, so we press on and reach a fork in the road. Ralsei thinks we should split up, but before I can choose who goes where, Susie dares to drag Ralsei along the upper path, leaving me all alone. Since cones stopped me from chasing them, I head right instead and actually happen to find Noelle. She's hiding from Queen and wants to team up with me, so I drag her back the wrong way to battle a Virokun. Noelle's confused, but I command her to ice shock the virus, which freezes them solid and makes Noelle stronger. Now that I can actually finally end Darkner lives, I lead Noelle back to the cones to freeze a pair of pop-ups one by one. That's a nice watch you got there, Noelle. Be a shame if I were to take it from you. I drag her further left, though the insolent deer dares to question me. But I ignore her and command her to freeze another Virokun and even a werewire, then enter a dark hallway. The door is locked and Noelle wonders why I brought her here since it's so lonely and creepy. Without answering her, I drag her back beyond the frozen darkness, though now there's an ambulance in my way. But a couple of ice shocks later and the helpless syringe is frozen like the rest. Even a task cat dares to stand in my way again, but this time there's no escape as I have have Noelle freeze it too. Back to where we met, I find some kind of puzzle, though just walk past it, but then a switch gets triggered which releases mice to Noelle, scaring her screamy self back. She asks me to lead the mice away, but I just leave her behind instead, so she stops me and encourages me again to deal with the mice. Though I just leave her again, so she panics and reminds me of pencils and peppermint cookies she gave me, then even offers to do my homework for me. Finally, she straight up asks if I'm actually leaving her, so I say proceed. Even though she's worried about the mice, again I say proceed. Desperate, she presses her hands to her ears and closes her eyes, then charges onto the switch, making it past the mice alone. She's relieved that she made it, but wonders when I got so bossy. Just getting started, I drag her to a pair of ambulances and have her freeze them both for even more power, then head further right to ice a helpless virus and a lonely werewire. Noticing that I'm now just a leader, I command my Frostmancer to freeze a virus and syringe guy, then check a nearby Ferris wheel poster. Noelle gets excited and wonders if her crush Susie would join her on the Ferris wheel, but I immediately say that I will ride with her. Oh, so you can shake it when we reach the top? Ah, trying to break the ice, how adorable. You think this is just some kind of prank. You don't realize yet that you're my slave. Noelle dares to say no, but I insist that Noelle will ride with me. Then my good little Frostmancer gives in, still thinking this is some kind of prank. Well, to the right is an annoying salesman who thinks Noelle and I are dating and tries to sell us dating shoes. Though Noelle quickly insists that we're just friends, but I correct her saying we're actually something else. Noelle wonders what I mean, but the salesman doesn't say more, so I walk away. Though suddenly the salesman stops me and offers a freeze ring instead. Noelle laughs, saying we don't need that, but I immediately say get it. This shocks my dear Frostmancer, who then blushes and gives in, asking the salesman about the price. Just a small fee of $31.90. Are you kidding me? Literally one more D than I have? So Noelle gives up, but I still say, get it. She's confused since we can't afford it, but then she thinks of what I might mean. That's right, Noelle, you know what I'm telling you to do. If we can't buy it,
Then we're just gonna take it by force.
again, I say get it, but my little angel hesitates, saying she could never. But I command her to get it. Then finally she obeys and freezes the salesman, fetching me the freeze ring like a good girl. She's confused and worried that she actually hurts someone, but she gradually accepts it as needed to get stronger, then thanks me. A ring with a snow globe on it. Is that someone inside? He's inside the ring? Oh, dang! So I have her wear it, then drag her along a lower path, but there's a lightning barrier in the way. Noelle offers to hold the switch down to let me pass, so I head through and press the other switch so she can join me. A few steps later, I overhear Noelle talking to herself, revealing she was thinking about stepping off the switch so the lightning would fry me. She says that's a horrible thought, but I respond saying it's natural, which shocks her since she didn't know I could hear her. Then in the next room, the task cat actually runs away from us, but I corner it and have Noelle freeze 3 task cats one by one, easily one-shotting them with her double damage. Further on, we find a box filled with CD bagels, so I steal all 4 of them, then find a cowering virus and have Noelle easily freeze them. The nearby chest has a bounce blade which lowers my attack but increases my defense, so I quickly put it on since Noelle is doing all the damage. A few freezes and HP boosts later, then suddenly Noelle and I reach a wide street where the signs are somehow already frozen. But I continue my rampage, freezing more syringe guys, task cats, and viruses until I reach a dumpster with a person hidden inside who says I need to get stronger and that 4 are left. Understanding this is 4 more enemies, I lead Noelle to the top right where we find another mouse puzzle. Noelle asks how we're going to solve it, so I say proceed and approach her. She's confused and asks how, but I just say proceed and approach again. Then she starts freaking out and asks what I'm doing, but I just say proceed and corner her even more. Now she's close to the lightning and panics, thinking I surely wouldn't hurt her, but I say proceed and push her dangerously close. Even as she cries out my name, I still say proceed, and finally my Frostmancer freezes the switch and puzzle parts, removing the lightning. Processing this, my naive Noelle thinks that I wasn't trying to hurt her, but rather that I'm just pushing her to become stronger. Further right, I find a retreating mouse and command Noelle to freeze the trio one by one until they're lifeless in ice. After freezing a different mouse trio, we find another puzzle, but this time my sweet Noelle immediately offers to solve it, freezing the puzzle part to complete it all by herself. All finished, Chris. Should we find some more enemies? That's my Noelle. I like the way you think. So I lead her to some pop-ups and a mouse to freeze them. Wait, why is there dog? What is dog? Why do I have dog stat? Oh, it's gone. What was that? I'm gonna freeze you, Toby. Then I head back to the creepy dumpster. The person inside now mentions a ring of thorns and offers to sell it for $19.97 Chromer. I happily accept and notice this ring is extremely powerful for Noelle, but puts her in a trance, so I immediately force her to wear it, making her into my ice trancer. Finally, I lead her beyond the frozen darkness, then we happen to run into Birdly. Noelle, there you are. Just in time. We could both go back to Queen, and no! She's my ice trancer now. Queen can't have her. Chris, it looks like another enemy. Oh! Good, my ice transfer, yes. Another enemy lies ahead. Should I freeze them? Oh, yes. Birdly is shocked and tries to get through to her, which snaps her out of her trance, but I just say proceed. Birdly gets confused and thinks I'm hurting Noelle, so he whips out his energy helper to attack, but Noelle begs him to run. Though it's far too late, my dear Noelle, as the transferring quickly drains her health, and I notice she has a new Snowgrave spell that's fatal. Happy to try it, I have us defend it, charge the needed 100% TP, while Birdly pointlessly tries to resist his fate. But I just patiently have us defend again and again while avoiding and blocking his weak halberd attacks. Finally at 100%, I command Noelle to cast Snowgrave, but she acts like she doesn't know the spell. So I command her again, but she repeats her lie. Once more and she tells me to stop, but I press her again and finally she gives in. Her pupils disappear as she soars into the air and summons a terrifying ice storm that blasts into Birdly, instantly freezing and one-shotting him. After Noelle collapses, she seems confused about what just happened and doesn't feel very good, so she walks away. Sure enough, that smug chicken's still completely frozen, but now I'm all alone. So I take the upper path and enter a manhole, which shortcuts me back to Ralsei and Susie. They're happy to see me and wonder where I've been since they've been looking everywhere for me. But Susie can tell something's off about me, so Ralsei suggests that Susie heals me with her new healing magic. Though we just enter Queen's mansion and find a rules card statue blocking the cafe entrance. But apparently that's actually the real rules card who is petrified since he comes from another dark world and doesn't belong to this one. Apparently closing the fountain will save him, even though Susie and I would happily leave him behind, but even Lancer in my inventory is petrified as well. With most paths blocked, we check the right, but the dumpster salesman is behind the basement door supposedly changing forms and hopes nobody seals the fountain. Planning on doing exactly that, we check the upper path and run to a mouse wheel, combining our attacks to chop at the trio. It fights back with the tracking cursor and even giant energy balls, but we slash and chop again and again until the potential recruit is banished. The room has a bunch of creepy paintings of a long-nosed guy with glasses, but even weirder, the upper path leads to a giant room filled with blue ovals. Walking into one starts a fight, and apparently they're called Pippis, an invasive species of freshwater clam. Doing enough damage completely destroys one, but the others just self-destruct, releasing clusters of those creepy painting heads at me. The fight earns me only 7Ds and doesn't make us stronger, so it's clear we should avoid these Pippis as I carefully navigate this maze. But I keep touching them in the tight paths and suffering through their self-destructs until I finally reach the exit. Though now the next hallway has exploding Pippis swarming from both sides as those creepy heads keep attacking me. Woo! Dodge the creepy face, dodge the creepy face, dodge the creepy face. The barrage is overwhelming as I struggle to dodge between the heads until I just give up and charge to the end, escaping the attack. The left hallway has even more Pippis rolling back and forth on wheels, and unfortunately I bump into a couple of them and have to avoid their explosions, but eventually I make it out. Though now there's a red glowing cat lady with a whip in my way who attacks me with her 2 task cats. We focus down the 2 cats first, then Task Manager calls me a bad dog before whipping at me with radiating electric bolts. You've been a bad dog. I'm not a dog! I'm a dragon! How dare you! But with our combined attacks, we easily defeat her, losing her as a potential recruit, but making ourselves stronger. In the next room, we quickly jump into a teacup ride, but I have to carefully rotate to avoid spinning lasers and bouncy balls till we make it to the top. After unlocking a shortcut back to the leg save, I head left to battle a hidden wire who apparently absorbed the wire to become stronger. Sure enough, its attacks are fast as it swarms with lasers and energy balls, but I avoid most of its attacks and focus it down with our own combined strikes until this recruit is banished too. Then we take some stairs up and find Noelle's room, so Susie wants me and her to go in. But I just ignore her, so she goes in by herself. Then Ralsei asks me if I wonder how they're doing in there, though I ignore him too. You're right, Chris. It has only been 30 seconds. Now it's been 32 seconds! How are they doing? Oh my gosh, 40 seconds! What's going on? So eventually he gives up and we wait till Susie comes back out. She's excited to go, but Ralsei asks what happened in there, though Susie doesn't want to talk about it. But apparently Susie told Noelle that this is all a dream, which made Noelle feel better, though Susie will tell me more later. So we head right past plugs, dropping deadly electric waves on us, and eventually find Queen. She rambles about the Roaring Knight who stabbed a knife into the ground to create this dark world, but she wants to create more darkness and spread it over the whole world, so she needs the determination of a lightener to create a new night. Though apparently Noelle is in no condition to help her and must rest, plus Birdly is missing and Queen can't find him. So Queen's only hope is Susie and I, but of course we refuse to help her since we need to seal the fountain to wake Noelle. But Queen says Noelle is already awakened too much and needs to sleep away into a darker dream. Since we won't service her night, she quickly flies off and comes back threateningly in a giant mech, once again asking who will help her. Ralsei then angrily asks Queen why she wants to unleash the roaring. But this confuses Queen, who asks what the roaring is, so Ralsei explains that if too much darkness is released, destructive titans will come out of the fountain, all darkness will be petrified, and the lighteners will be lost in eternal chaos. But this shocks Queen as she apparently didn't know. So she immediately leaves her mech and walks back to us, canceling her plans and letting me seal the fountain. But as I walk past, Susie's stops to invite Queen to our dark world before leaving to check on Noelle, then Rousey stays to tell Queen about our town. All alone now, I head for the fountain and I'm just about to seal it when suddenly a dark puppet crashes down from above, shoving me aside. He has the same head as those paintings and thanks me for helping him become Neo and take over this world. But the dumpster salesman is upset that I'm now sealing the fountain, so he attacks me. I'm all alone in this fight, and Spamton Neo immediately shoots flying blue heads at me, though my now yellow soul can shoot back to destroy them. But I can't shoot them all down fast enough, so I take damage and eat a CD bagel to heal. Now Spamton rushes me with indestructible columns, but there are weak point heads that I shoot down to break through. Unfortunately, I also hit bombs which explode at me, so I'm forced to heal with another bagel. And then Spamton's heart pops out shooting deadly diamonds, so I carefully avoid them while shooting back. Finally, I'm healthy enough to attack, so I land a critical slash, then Spamton picks up the phone and shoots Pippis at me. I quickly destroy as many as I can, but one manages to reach me and explodes Spamton heads at me. Slightly injured now, I bite into a double D burger to heal up, then charge shot Spamton back again and again as he crawls at me with phone hands. He says Noelle and I have been making hyperlink blocked, whatever that is, then shoves his face at me. I quickly shoot down the nose, then work on the eyes, but take a lot of damage, so I eat fried Pippis to heal. Once again, Spamton attacks with his heart and diamonds, which I dodge while shooting back, then counter with a critical slash. Suddenly, Spamton reveals he knew I'd use his ring for evil, which is why he sold it to me. Then he calls me out on using Noelle to turn Birdly into frozen chicken just for freedom. Another face attack comes, but this time I destroy the mouth and eyes, then X-slash for massive damage. Spamton admits that this path will lead to my freedom, but apparently a depressing one where I'll wish I had let Spamton end my life. After dodging and healing from several of Spamton's attacks while shooting and slashing back, eventually the room turns dark and Spamton Neo turns huge and starts sucking giant dollar signs towards me. I carefully dodge while shooting at his mouth until he suddenly backs up and shoots massive Spamton ghosts at me. I squeeze between the ghosts while continuing to shoot back until he fires a massive one that I quickly back away from. Somehow I completely dodged his whole attack and am free to X-slash him. But just when I thought I won, he notices I'm trying to deplete his health and says he never loses a 1v1. Suddenly his attack drops while his defense massively rises and he reveals Neo is famous for its high defense. Sure enough, after I dodge his slow Pippis attack and he recovers HP with Pippis, my attack now only does 10 damage. No matter how many times I attack, I can't get his HP below 6%, so I give up and act to call on Rousey for help. But nobody came, so Spamton makes fun of me saying no one will ever pick up. Sure enough, I call on Rousey again, but still nobody came. So I try Susie instead, but even after 2 tries, still nobody came. Spamton insists that nobody is going to help me, but then I whisper Noelle's name. Spamton laughs at me and makes fun of Noelle, saying she'll just make him an ice cream. But suddenly Spamton starts feeling cold as he's blasted with triple powerful ice attacks, then I quickly rush to seal the fountain. Now we're all back in the light world and Noelle wakes up to Birdly's alarm. She's convinced that it really was all just a dream and is surprised to see us, but Susie reminds her that she invited us. While Noelle is happy to see Susie, she says her dream was a nightmare and is glad that she woke up. Though she did enjoy the end with Susie, but is embarrassed to give details, so she tries to wake up Birdly. Oh, he ain't getting up, sweetheart. He's taking an ice cold nap for eternity. So Noelle quickly grabs all his books and lets him sleep while approaching the exit. Though before Noelle leaves, she asks if Susie has a tail, which Susie angrily denies, then Noelle finally walks out. After getting excited that we just saved the world, but bummed out that Noelle has to forget, Susie walks out too, so I check on Birdly. Sure enough, he's out cold, so I gather up everything in the room, then leave the library. But apparently Susie was waiting and wants to join me, so we head back to school and enter the Castletown Dark World to bring in the Cyber World Dark Nurse. Sure enough, Queen materializes right away and actually likes Castletown, but asks where her swatchlings and everyone else is. None of them made it since I attacked all possible recruits, but at least the useless Trashy shows up, though that doesn't make Queen feel any better. Once she leaves, I check my items to see that Lantern Rule's card are back to normal, then I head up and somehow Rousey is back together with us again. Sure enough, I only have the Chapter 1 recruits, so I head to the bakery, then combine the glow wrist and iron shackle for his spike band along with a pink ribbon and white ribbon for the twin ribbon. Then I check Sham's shop and talk to him to find out that I somehow have another shadow crystal. Apparently it came from Spamton Neo, and now Sham holds onto it for me, then tells me the next secret boss might be impossible to beat if I don't have the shadow mantle. But when he tries to get it from me, he realizes it's gone and says I'm doomed. So I leave for Rousey's castle and check on King, who calls me out on leaving the cyber darkness behind, just like how he was abandoned before. Lancer, hey Lancer, how are you feeling? Huff puff, 100% my purplish pal. You sure? You're breathing kind of heavy. Just a little winded from jumping from Chris's pocket. He keeps going in and out of me without my consent. Who did this to my mannequin? As your prince, I demand someone fix this. Is anybody listening? They don't respect you, Rousey. And personally, I like seeing you naked. Curious about Noelle, I leave for the light world and head for the hospital to find Noelle playing a video game next to her sick dad. But when he asks to control for a bit, Noelle panics, wanting to control it herself. Her dad notices she's behaving strangely, so he asks if she's alright. But she insists she's okay and that she just slept in the library and had a weird dream. Rudy jokes, saying Birdley bored her to sleep, but she explains that Birdley fell asleep too. So her dad says she should probably go home and rest and that he'll see her at church tomorrow. He insists he'll be healthy enough that Noelle notices I'm here and panics before noticing Susie as well. Plus Rudy reveals that Noelle has talked a lot about Susie, so Noelle gets nervous and runs out. After Rudy half jokes that if Susie hurts Noelle, he'll kick her butt, I talk to him to see that he's still in bad shape and needs more tests. He cares a lot about Noelle, but can't do much from here while her mom is so hard on her. Though when I try to leave, Rudy stops Susie to talk to her, so I walk out and hear Noelle freaking out. Apparently the voice in her dream who told her what to do sounded different from Chris's voice and was very terrifying. She can tell that Chris has changed recently and wants to figure out why Chris is acting so strange and why they keep visiting the hospital. So I answer to see you, which shocks her since she didn't know I was here. But she calms down, remembering that it was all a dream, until she realizes I'm wearing her watch and asks when I got it.
In your dream, my dear ice trancer.
Then Susie interrupts and asks what we're doing. But Noelle quickly panics and says she's going home, which makes Susie think that Noelle's afraid of her. So we leave the hospital and find our teacher Alphys with her bike destroyed. It turns out she crashed, so I head into the police station and warn Officer Undyne about the dark world. But she just laughs at me and smashes her desk, accidentally launching the key into the cell door and releasing the prisoners. Before chasing them down, she gives me a heart-shaped box of candies for Alphys, then threatens to arrest me if I open it myself. So instead of opening it, I head up to Sans' shop and bring in the box of chocolates for a return, earning me $5 more. Then after I check the cards, suddenly Toriel rushes to Sans' counter to pick up her eggs. But Sans and Toriel just start making egg puns together instead until her egg's husband, Asgore, shows up. Then after Toriel coldly greets him, he tries to give her flowers, but she quickly leaves the store. So Asgore walks up to Sans for the usual free pickles and asks what flowers would help Toriel remember her warm feelings for him. But Sans just dodges the question, so Asgore ultimately leaves. Then I head out of the store and enter the diner to visit Caddy. I ask her about Noelle, and she says she taught Noelle protection spells and tells me to protect Noelle from the dark, but apparently the dark is Susie. So I leave the diner and finally head home. But just as Susie prepares to leave, Goat Mama opens the door and welcomes Susie inside for some pie. So Susie happily joins us and is very respectful to Toriel as Mama offers to bake the pie with her. Though just as Toriel suggests that I teach Susie, I excuse myself to wash my hands and head all the way to the bathroom. But as I run the tap, instead of washing their hands, Chris falls to the ground and rips me out, then shoves me into the cupboard. While I'm stuck, Chris Zombie walks over to the window and raises the shutters, then climbs out. I have no idea what Chris is doing while I overhear Toriel and Susie baking the pie. But once Toriel leaves to get sugar from her car, I see Chris climb back in, then reach into the cupboard to grab me and shove me back inside of them. Finally, I head back to Susie, but Toriel comes back and says we should finish the pie later. Though just as Susie gets ready to leave, Toriel insists that she should spend the night with us and can sleep on the couch. So Susie happily accepts, then we hop on the couch and watch TV together. But then she says the festival is coming to town soon and asks me who I'm taking with me. Though I just ignore her while staring at her, which creeps her out, so she goes back to watching TV. But not long later, Susie falls asleep, then I lay down and overhear Toriel calling an officer. Apparently she saw someone creepy outside and noticed her car tires were slashed. Oh yeah, slice and dice. The officer's coming over though, so she joins us on her chair and falls asleep as well. Just when I think it's over, suddenly Chris wakes up and rips me out again, shoving me in between the couch cushions. Then they get up and open the front door before turning on the TV and shoving their knife into the ground to create a new dark fountain. As I helplessly watch the dark fill the room, Chris sits back down and eventually picks me up again while we're all swallowed by darkness.